Alright, so here we are. I guess I'll take you into the garage. I refer to this as my motocross paradise garage. This is a freestanding cinder block garage at my house here in New Jersey. So I had to redo the whole garage. Actually, it's got a new roof. Here, take you in and show you the roof. This thing had holes in the ceiling like you wouldn't believe. They were like 2 feet around. It's 2 foot's the proper way of saying it. So it's got all new plywood. It's got all new 50-year roof. All new wood there on the sides. And we put up 18 gallons of masonry paint, make it nice and white. And then of course you can't miss the fact that we reduced the size of the windows. The windows were 4 foot by 4 foot. I guess back in the 50s you could do that, but nowadays, so we reduced this back window here up to just this little window, and the windows on the side, that was actually blocked up as well. So I just put those 2 smaller windows in, and they can actually open. Then of course you can't miss the 120,000 lumens T5 high output lights, which I had mounted. You can see they're all over the place. They're on 2 separate switches. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, I guess I'll oh, the doors. Yeah, that part of the garage still looks a little skanky. We'll put new roll-up doors on before the winter time. They'll be white on the inside and brown on the outside with no windows. We just painted over the windows for now. People really don't need to know what's in here. And of course, one of the most recent additions was very important, was the $1 million alarm system. That's actually 4G. It's a Honeywell setup. It's a 4G. Doesn't need a phone line. So it's an automatic alarm in 15 seconds. So that worked out pretty good. The electrician did a nice clean job. Anyway, let's get on to the bikes. All right, the first acquisition when I decided to get back into dirt bikes is this bike here. This here is a 95 Suzuki RM250. It's a really sweet machine. It's got very low hours on it. I bought this from a guy out in Pennsylvania, out in York, Pennsylvania. And the story goes that he rescued this bike from a garage, a job he was working on. He saw this bike sitting in the garage from an older gentleman. He said it was his son's bike, and he didn't really ride it much. So this gentleman bought this bike, rescued it rather. It's been sitting in the garage for years. And he realized it had very low hours on it. And one of the ways he could find out very low hours on it is the original Suzuki chain rollers. And they got very little wear on them. So we kind of think that this bike once upon a time scared the hell out of someone, and they parked it. And this gentleman, he rescued it, and he was more of a CR guy, but he recognized a good bike when he saw it. So he rescued this bike. He put a nice new back tire on it. Original tire had plenty of tread, but it was a little dry rotted from sitting. So this has a nice new rather aggressive tire on it. Chain, everything's in nice shape. It has a 909 factory 909 bars, which is a nice hop up. They cost somebody a pretty penny. It's all around a sweet bike. I got a pretty good deal on this bike. One thing that was interesting is that he mentioned that this bike had a very gentle power band. Well, that was a joke. This bike's actually definitely on the wicked side. So I'll back up so you can see this thing. Still trying to get used to this goofy camera. Guess I got a picture of the other side. Has no numbers on it, which is appropriate. All right, that's the other side of it. It's a 95 RM250. The second bike in the acquisition was this 99 RM125. It's interesting. It's got number 7 on it. I doubt that was James Stewart's bike. This bike I bought from a Polish guy. I think he's a Polish immigrant. Nice guy. He's down in South Jersey. The bars were bent, so I just put on nice new Pro Taper bars. Got the black anodized Pro Taper bars. They turned out pretty good. Guess I'll leave the number 7 for now. And this bike had a few issues. Actually, it had racing fuel in it when I bought it. I'm in the process of rebuilding the carburetor. Just ordered the kit for that. It's got plenty of compression. I haven't done a compression test on it yet, but it has plenty of compression, so I don't think that that's going to be an issue. I think the top end's been recently done. I can see that there's a number. I don't know if you can see that there. There's a number on the back of the cylinder jug right in here, and That's usually stamped by Power Seal, which is the company that does the Nicocel ceramic coating on these cylinders. They're out in Kimmerton, PA. I brought cylinders out there before. Guy Chris, he really knows what he's doing. It's a class act shop. So I think somebody did the top end on this bike not that long ago. Another thing I'm doing is I'm going to put new chain sprocket set on it, and the back rim is whooped. Its spokes are loose. I don't know if you can hear that. But this back wheel is going to need to be relaced. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save that hub or not. If you take a look at that, it's got some issues. They're all loose. So we're going to have to redo that. It's going to need a new back tire as well. The third bike in the collection was actually not here. It's a 1990 YZ125. That bike's a story in its own. That's its slot. I guess these bikes are definitely worth talking about. This here's a 82 IT 250. I bought this bike from South Jersey from a kid. To him it was just an old Yamaha. He didn't really know the significance of the ITs. I picked this bike up fairly cheap. It runs. It's pretty badass. This bike is here. I'm going to completely recondition this bike. It's a nice machine. It's got that porcupine air-cooled cylinder head on it, which is pretty neat. Needs a back fender. It's got this goofy piece of plastic. But anyway, the second bike in the IT collection is this. Hey, this thing's a beast. This here's a 90. I'm sorry, this is an 84. This is an 84 IT 490. This guy was a degenerate gambler. He needed money. This bike he got from a buddy of his who is now deceased, and he left him this bike. The problem with this bike is that the guy that owned it knew that the ITs were rather special bikes. So this bike was only made in the second half of '83 and then '84. It's a 487cc two-stroke. This bike was made, I guess, as a desert. It's an Enduro. It's a two-stroke Enduro bike by Yamaha. These bikes are very, very successful. If you notice, they have more angle on the front end as you're doing higher speed Enduro or desert racing. But these bikes are pretty desirable. This bike's going to be completely restored as well. I mean, it's pretty badass. I mean, it's 487 cc's, a two-stroke Yamaha power. That's essentially a YZ490 motor on this bike, and it's these are some of the first of the blue Yamaha. So this bike's going to be really pretty when I'm done with it. I don't know when, but right now these two ITs are just sitting in line waiting to be restored. Take you down here to where the CR is. There's actually 3 CRs down here. This here's an 87. This here's an 87 CR 125, David Bailey special. I bought that bike. It was popping out of first gear. The motor's apart on the bench. Over in this corner here, like I said, there's 3 CRs. This here's the 88 CR. And here's the frame for the 88 CR, which I just got back. It was powder coated. You can see it's nice, like brandy new. This guy's did a really nice job. All right, so that bike's being completely reconditioned from the frame up. There's the entire motor and the bike there. The wheels are over there in the other corner. This here's a 96 CR 125. I got this from Dean, Fastway Motorcycle Shop. Very well known suspension and engine builder. It's actually one of the best motocross wrenches that I know. There's the frame for the 96 CR 125, and there's the entire bike right there. And again, the wheels are over on the other side. Had this hopped up RG3 suspension. So this bike's gonna be a really nice when it's done too. But again, all 3 of these CR 125s are in the midst of completely being reconditioned. All right. Obviously, you can see I left this one here as a roller. Didn't want to confuse any parts off of this with the 88, which is all in these bins here. Let's see. A few other gems floating around here. Oh yeah, this thing here. You may have seen this when I was talking about the RM250. This here is an 85 DR250. And, you know, I bought it because it reminds me of the first 125 I owned, which was an 85 RM125. And what was so neat about that was it was my first two-stroke 125. I was only 13 years old, so you can imagine. But this DR has the same color schema as the RM. This yellow and blue, and these really cool gold rims. And these gold rims are actually in really nice shape. This bike is a non-runner. I've been having a problem getting spark to it. I've replaced the CDI box, coil. So at this point, the only thing I haven't done is the stator. I'm going to send a stator out to get that rewound. I want to get this bike running so I can see if it has all of its gears and such. Then after that, I'll rip this bike down to the frame or redo this bike as well. They didn't sell a whole lot of these bikes. There's not a whole lot of these out there. People kind of, like the XRs more. Honda sold many more of the XR250s, trail bikes, as opposed to these. So I picked this up because it reminds me of my 85 RM125, simply just because of the colors. Plus, I can remember looking at this bike in the Suzuki catalog. I had them little brochures every year they put out, and I can remember staring at this bike. So anyway, that's the 85. That's the 85 DR250. One day I'll get around to that bike. Talking to the XR250s, I'll turn around here to the other side. This bike here is an 88 XR250R, excellent trail bike. I bought this bike as a non-runner. It's got some issues on the top end of the motor. So this bike's going to be totally torn down and redone. I'll redo the motor. I'll take this one right down to the frame. It's red, white, and blue. You gotta like that. So, and again, somebody spent some money on this bike suspension-wise. It's got the KPS suspension. Then again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they did the entire suspension. They may just did a little work to it and did their sticker on it. I actually prefer Fastway cycle to do my suspension. I know Dean personally, and the guy is he's a scientist when it comes to suspension. Teaches me a lot about it, that's for sure. So this will be a nice bike when I'm done with it. Here's some pieces of the 99 RM125 sitting on there. In fact, they're laying all over the garage at the moment. James Stewart side plates. This thing, I'll back up and get this in the screen. That's a TTR 225. I simply bought that bike just to putt around on and also teach people how to ride. It's a 4-stroke bike, 225 cc's. I actually have 3 of these. 2 of them are apart. This one here is a 99. Interesting story about this bike is that this bike was owned by someone who's in jail for murder. So this is an actual murderer's motorcycle. So whoever used to ride this bike, apparently he's an absolute psycho and actually is in jail for murdering someone. The key switch never came with the key, so what I did is I rigged up this toggle switch and wired it all in. Alright, so it doesn't really have a key. So it's an interesting bike. It doesn't really have enough suspension to... you can get in trouble with this bike because you think you can do things with it that you can do on a motocross bike, but you can't. It's heavier and it doesn't have the suspension. Alright, so let's see. This bike here. Well, here's another XR. This here's an 89 XR. And that bike was actually stolen out of the parking lot at my work. The bike used to run. It still runs, but it's hammering away. So this bike's got to be redone. I think I bought that bike for $600 up in North Jersey. But yeah, they stole that bike, and I actually got the bike back 4 days later with the help of some people I knew in the Trenton Police Department. They put a lot of pressure on those guys, and I actually got the bike back and an apology. How about that? So anyway, did I miss any? Yeah, this Kawasaki. Every time I wanted to buy a Kawasaki as a kid, they kind of slipped through my fingers. And if I wanted one bad enough, I just would have went to the dealer and bought one. But when I started getting back into motorcycles, dirt bikes specifically, same thing started happening. Every time I wanted to buy a Kawasaki, something goofy would happen. So this one here is the first Kawasaki I've been able to get that actually wasn't a chore. This came from Lancaster, Farmer's Kids, KX125. I believe it's an 89. I rode this bike a lot last year. It's actually pretty quick. Problem with that bike is that its fork seals are so gone so gone. You can see the oil. You can see the oil dripping down the forks. Oil's dripping down the forks, getting onto the front brake. You can imagine the problems there. So it's getting dangerous to ride because it can't properly land a jump or anything. So kid put those little spoke protectors on there. That's pretty neat. So I took the Kickstarter off this bike because it was sitting down at my dad's yard, and his employees like the ride stuff that I leave down there. So I figured I'd take the Kickstarter off and leave it on the trailer so they leave it alone. So that's the 89. It's the 89 KX. Let's see. Yeah, there's one other bike in here. This is a gift from my buddy Sean, business partner. Yeah, there it is. 94. It's Kenny Roxon. Kenny Roxon's Soaring Eagle, Jimmy John's RCH factory Suzuki. It's a little model. Actually has a little Kenny Roxon in there too. I don't know if you can see him. He obviously won the outdoor championship this year for the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. It's pretty neat. It's sitting on top of my overpriced toolbox. Everybody's laughing at me. $792 for this little toolbox. But hey, it is a snap-on, and it's brand new, and it's black. So, alright. That's your introduction to the bikes that are here. Oh yeah, here's the motor. Here's the motor for the 87 CR 125, the first David Bailey special. These bearings have, go press these out of here. I like to replace every bearing, every seal in the motor when I do them. But I got the case all separated, everything all cleaned up. So obviously we have parts in here. I like to keep everything organized. A lot of the internals. And primary drive gear, shifting mechanism. I guess the other thing to note, yeah, I got to come, you know, the water, Honda back in those years had a problem with the water pump housings. You can see how they corrode. This one I'll actually be able to clean up, but the right crankcase cover I actually bought another one for off a newer bike, which is actually interchangeable with this. You can see all the corrosion here, which was common on those year CRs. That's again, that's a water pump housing on the right crankcase cover, 87 CR 125. So anyway, waiting to right here in this spot here where that fan is where I'm going to put my hydraulic press. All right, because a hydraulic press comes in handy when you're dealing with these bearings. And I like to do my motors properly. I mean, I got the heat plates and all, you know, to heat those cases up when I'm putting the new bearings in, so that helps. There's more internals for that motor. The shifting forks. All right, water pump shaft, and here's the carburetor that is a part for the 99 RM125. And so yeah, hydraulic press in this area here. I want to do a parts washer here. All right, that's why I left this spot open here. I'm gonna put a parts washer, and somewhere over in here, I'm gonna move some of this stuff around. I'm gonna put a glass bead cabinet. I hope to get all that stuff in over the next couple weeks or so. All right, that's it for now. Work in progress. See you later.